You know that cursed 2:47 p.m. feeling when your morning ambition has evaporated, your coffee has filed for divorce, and replying to one email feels like negotiating peace with a hostile empire? You had plans, you had energy, maybe even a to-do list, and now you're staring at the screen like it personally betrayed you. Nearly 2,000 years ago, Seneca knew that crash too. Except his boss was Nero, and this preacher of simple living was also one of the richest men in Rome, with multiple lavish villas. By the end of this story, you'll know Seneca's forgotten rule for protecting your motivation before the afternoon steals it. It's not about more discipline, more coffee, or becoming that terrifying person who loves Mondays. And the weirdest part? It takes less time than reheating your sad lunch. Seneca bursts from the marble corridor in slippers, 5 unfinished scrolls hugged to his chest like sacred laundry. Behind him, Nero's palace water clock drips toward the 6th hour, each drop sounding less like water and more like career damage. At home, the comedy gets worse. Seneca, champion of simple living, owns rooms that require their own walking tour. Tacitus later says he became one of Rome's richest men, and Seneca's own letter 8:7 calls poverty noble from the comfort of expensive cushions. Livia storms in with breakfast, a schedule, and a small plain travel pillow. The tag reads, "For the 6th hour pause." Seneca waves it away. A philosopher does not need a pillow. Livia parks it on his desk. "Master, your wisdom is not dead. It is simply underfed and underslept." Baby blinks from a basket, then spits up on a scroll titled On Dignity. Wrong audience. A palace tablet lands on the table. Nero returns at the 6th hour and wants Seneca's council scroll on discipline, loyalty, and public order. In Nero's Rome after 54 CE, advice wasn't just TED Talk seasoning. Bad phrasing could become treason with better sandals. Seneca had warned Lucilius in letter 7 to avoid crowds. Yet Tacitus places him deep inside Nero's court, where crowds came with knives hidden under compliments. From memory, the elder's voice returns. A tired mind does not need another command. It needs permission to recover. Seneca tosses the pillow aside. It lands in a fruit bowl, turning figs into a neck support buffet. "I'll rest after I finish," he says. "You said that yesterday," Livia says. "That was practice." Before the ink dries, he accepts a tax note, a court speech, and a favor involving 3 senators and 1 suspicious goat. His duty scroll rolls off the desk and puddles onto the floor. The water clock drips. Noon is coming, and Seneca is negotiating with himself. Seneca locks himself in the study like willpower is a security system. He dips the reed, squares his shoulders, and writes. A ruler must first govern himself. Then he writes it again, and again. By the 7th version, the line has become, "A ruler must first invade the soup." Baby, parked beside the desk for reasons no one approved, blinks with the grave disappointment of a tiny literary critic. Seneca rubs his eyes. This is not fatigue. This is resistance training for the soul. Livia appears at the doorway. "No, master. This is soup treason." The brutal joke is that Seneca actually wrote the opposite of this chaos. In letter 1, he warned Lucilius, "Nothing is ours except time." And on the shortness of life, he says life is not too short. We waste too much of it. Excellent advice. Unfortunately, his own afternoon now has the structural integrity of a wet napkin. It's like when your boss schedules meetings through lunch, then asks why your 3 p.m. brain has the moral strength of wet bread. Outside, Nero's water clock keeps dripping toward the 6th hour. Drip, drip, drip. The council scroll is still unfinished, and in Nero's court, "I got sleepy" is not a legal defense. Seneca grabs the growing duty scroll and marches toward the palace. Halfway down the villa stairs, it unrolls behind him like a beige anaconda with deadlines. Livia steps on the tail of it. "Say no to one thing," she says. Seneca clutches his chest. To duty, to nonsense. At the palace entrance, Cassius pounces with the smile of a boy who has discovered blackmail as a hobby. He holds out another urgent memo. "Could you also summarize public grain discipline, loyalty oaths, and why Nero's singing is technically a gift from Apollo?" Seneca's eyelid twitches. Of course. Cassius beams. Behold Rome's great Stoic, conquered by a yawn. Seneca tries to lecture him. The wise man guards his time. Cassius points at the duty scroll sliding down the last stair, across the courtyard, and under baby's basket. Is that your guarded time escaping? Then Livia hits him with the reversal. She opens a bundle of Seneca's own letters like evidence at a trial. You write about daily practice in letter 5, she says, then admit you keep slipping. You write about calm, yet letter 104 smells of anxiety. And in letter 83, you admit poor sleep and insomnia. Seneca softens. Those were private reflections. They are now public receipts. Modern neuroscience would side with Livia. After hours of continuous decision-making, the prefrontal cortex, the part that helps with judgment and self-control, gets worse at steering the animal underneath. Stoicism was never supposed to mean pretending the animal has no body. Seneca hears the elder in memory, dry as old parchment. A tired mind does not need another command. It needs permission to recover. Seneca shakes it off. No pause. I will deliver the counsel from memory. That memory just invaded soup, Livia says. He strides into the crowded antechamber, refusing a seat, refusing water, refusing mercy. Petitions swarm. He accepts each one. The duty scroll now rolls through the palace crowd like a runaway carpet, wrapping ankles, knocking tablets, and briefly creating a very boring parade. Nero's horn sounds nearby. Seneca opens his mouth. Nothing. Not philosophy. Not politics. Not even soup. Cassius whispers, delighted. This is going to be historically uncomfortable. Then, from the chaos, the plain travel pillow skids across the marble and stops at Seneca's feet. The label faces up for the 6th hour pause. The horn freezes the room. The water clock has reached the 6th hour. Drip. Zero mercy. Seneca looks at the pillow, then at the emperor's doorway, then at the duty scroll strangling the furniture. Livia folds her arms. Master, choose. Perform wisdom or practice it. Cassius grins. Please perform it. I brought emotional popcorn. Baby blinks, then pats the pillow like it has been obvious all along. Seneca inhales. His fatal flaw had been saying yes to everything. So, for once, he overcommits to the right thing. He lifts the pillow. I will speak after the 6th hour pause. Cassius nearly drops his tablet. You are napping at Nero? No, Seneca says. I am refusing to bring Nero a mind already conquered. Here's the twist. In letter 83, Seneca describes taking a short midday rest, not as laziness, but as maintenance. The man famous for guarding time also admitted poor sleep and insomnia. His forgotten rule wasn't push harder. It was recover before judgment collapses. The elder stands beside the marble column in memory, leaning on his stick. A tired mind does not need another command. It needs permission to recover. Livia snatches the endless duty scroll, rolls it tight, then circles it around Seneca like a boundary rope. No petitions cross this line, she says. The gag finally becomes policy. Cassius whispers, that is either genius or career suicide. Seneca lies down on the plain pillow. 20 quiet breaths. No speeches. No heroic jaw-clenching. Just a philosopher admitting he has a nervous system. Modern science would clap in Latin. NASA research on pilots found a 26-minute nap improved performance by 34% and alertness by 54%. Ancient Rome didn't have productivity apps, but it did have shade, silence, and the radical idea that brains are not oil lamps you refill with guilt. Seneca opens his eyes. Calm returns like a servant who had been waiting outside the door. When Nero's presence darkens the entrance, Cassius prepares to enjoy a disaster. Instead, Seneca rises with one short scroll. He doesn't apologize for the pause. He weaponizes it. A ruler who cannot pause, Seneca says, will eventually be ruled by impulse. The empire should not depend on the mood of an exhausted hour. That's the twist. The nap wasn't an escape from Nero. It became advice Nero couldn't easily reject without announcing, publicly, yes, I prefer impulse. Cassius' smugness leaks out of his face. Livia gives the smallest nod of grudging respect. Baby spits up on the old, unfinished draft. Fair review. Seneca's counsel is shorter, sharper, and safer. Discipline needs rhythm. Loyalty needs steadiness. Public order begins with the person holding power over himself. Later, near the same marble corridor where he had sprinted in slippers, the water clock still drips.